The governor of North Carolina announced that $30 million will be put towards NASCAR tracks, including North Wilkesboro Speedway and The Rock. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Lots to get to today. This is the last Out of the Groove before this weekend's triple header at Circuit of the Americas. If you haven't heard, I will be there. So if you see me this weekend, I'll be the tall guy probably with a camera. Feel free to come say hi. I'll be filming the at-track experience this weekend. Can't wait to share that with y'all. We'll talk a little more about COTA in a moment, but first, this episode is presented by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. That's right, the Hall of Fame. There's no better place to see the history of the sport we all love come to life than the NASCAR Hall of Fame, located in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. Whether it's learning about the legends who established the sport or experiencing the sights and sounds of NASCAR from car design to race day, you'll quickly find that the NASCAR Hall is more than just a museum, it's a shrine to the history, heritage, and future of the sport. While you're there, be sure to walk down Glory Road featuring 18 race cars, handpicked by Dale Earnhardt Jr. representing the champions of NASCAR. You can get behind the wheel of their racing simulators and check out their exhibit honoring the 2020 class. They have a couple new exhibits as well, a legendary decade looking at the first 10 years of NASCAR Hall of Fame classes, and Jimmy Johnson one final time, which looks back at his storied career. To explore more and book your visit to the hall today, head to NASCARHall.com. The NASCAR Hall of Fame, this is our sport, this is our house. Be sure to check it out. I visited back in 2019. It was incredible. I've already got plans to visit again later this summer while I'm on the road. Really looking forward to that. The Coke 600 weekend is a week away, so if you're in town for the race, be sure to spend a morning or an afternoon or a full day at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in downtown Charlotte. For more information, check out that link down below. Great to have the NASCAR Hall of Fame supporting Out of the Groove. Before we talk about the millions of dollars being sunk into NASCAR racetracks in North Carolina, we do have a couple other quick stories to catch up on. First, there's a little bit to add on to the big story from earlier this week. We did a whole video on Brad Keselowski reportedly considering leaving Penske for an ownership driver role at Roush. The news was revealed Tuesday morning. We did a video on it early Tuesday afternoon, and then a little bit later, Bob Pockrass from Fox Sports confirmed that, per his sources at least, the Keselowski move to Roush to form Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing next year. He says it's a done deal, so we'll wait for an official announcement, I guess, but it sounds like this is happening. So it's not necessarily a hypothetical, just an opportunity like we talked about on Tuesday. It sounds like Keselowski may have already signed the deal. Yesterday, Roush Fenway held a press conference revealing that Fastenal, longtime sponsor of the team, has extended their deal with Roush through 2024, a big deal for them, and Bob Pockrass took this opportunity to ask Roush Fenway president Steve Newmark about these Brad Keselowski rumors, and here's what that sounded like.
Fair question, and I appreciate it's kind of front of mind based on some of the rumors that have been floating around, and for today, we're going to keep the focus on our Fastenal and our partnership, and I will attempt to deflect politely any questions around any of those rumors at this time.
He doesn't dispute it. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't even talk about how it's just a rumor. He just leaves it at no comment. So I thought that was a bit interesting yesterday. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in there. It sounds like this might be closer to a done deal than we all initially thought. Now, last night we got our first glimpse at what NASCAR Circuit of the Americas is going to look like this weekend with the eNASCAR Pro Invitational iRacing event on FS1. James Davison, driving for Rick Ware Racing, led the race pretty much wire to wire. Anthony Alfredo, William Byron were the only two even pretty much on the same lap by the end of the race. Davison walloped the field. There's really not much else to say about it. It felt like last night was just an hour of the FS1 booth telling us how excited they are for the real race this weekend. And I don't know, the Pro Invitational just kind of is what it is. I am interested in the race a couple weeks from now. They're going to race at the Chicago Street Course. I'm curious to see how that looks, but the rest of the Pro Invitational at this point doesn't really seem to be serving a purpose in my opinion. Anyway, just want to throw that out there. Congrats to James Davison, getting some good TV time. Also, last thing about COTA, we already talked earlier this week about Paul Menard racing in the Truck Series race this weekend. Very exciting, but there are also a handful of Cup Series stars that are dipping down into the lower ranks. Among them, Kevin Harvick will drive the number 5 car, typically run by Matt Mills. He'll run that in the Xfinity Series race. His teammate Cole Custer will drive for Rick Ware Racing in the 17 in the Xfinity race. Austin Dillon will drive drive the 77 in that race. Kyle Busch will drive the 54 for JGR. And Tyler Reddick will attempt to make Jordan Anderson Racing's first Xfinity Series start in the 31. Those are the few Cup Series drivers currently on the Xfinity Series entry list, getting some extra seat time, some extra track time before the Cup race on Sunday. You've probably seen it by now, but weather is somewhat threatening throughout the weekend. Hopefully the lightning and the heaviest stuff stays away, but if it gets a little wet this weekend, which seems very likely at this point, that's gonna shake things up for sure. If you want my picks, like for NASCAR Fantasy or like checking out the betting odds, you'll have to stay tuned for this week's Out of the Groove Weekly Viewers Guide. I've got a special video exclusive to the Weekly Viewers Guide this week where I go through my top picks, my dark horses, maybe some drivers you should stay away from, and much, much more. I go in depth and give you guys all my picks in the Weekly Viewers Guide this week, and I'll begin doing that every week from here on out, exclusive to the Out of the Groove Weekly Viewers Guide. So make sure you're subscribed. It is free. Anyway, with that all being said, let's talk about the big news from yesterday. Yesterday, Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina announced $30 million of the American Rescue Plan money will go towards infrastructure repairs at Rockingham Speedway, North Wilkesboro Speedway, and Charlotte Motor Speedway. Breakdown looks like each track gets $10 million. This still has to be approved by state lawmakers, but many believe that is likely. Whoa! This came out of nowhere. Beyond that $30 million, there's also reports of another $10 million that will be split up between all the different short tracks in North Carolina. This is wild. You know, if the government's gonna spend millions and millions of dollars, as a NASCAR fan, I at least appreciate that they're spending it on NASCAR tracks. But this is huge. North Wilkesboro Speedway has been abandoned, quite frankly, abandoned for a decade now. And all of a sudden, in just a matter of a couple short months, you got Marcus Lemonis from Camping World pledging $1 million, saying he's gonna build a Camping World nearby, all that great stuff. You got Marcus Smith from Speedway Motorsports going on Dale Jr.'s show and unprompted saying, oh yeah, we're thinking about bringing back North Wilkesboro. And Dale Jr. going, what? And now you got the state government throwing $10 million at an abandoned racetrack. I mean, I don't think $10 million is going to get North Wilkesboro from abandoned to NASCAR ready, but it's a huge, huge chunk, a huge step in the right direction. $10 million will go a long way. $11 million if you factor in perhaps what Marcus Lemonis is pitching in, but that money at a track like North Wilkesboro will go a long way. A year ago, I think pretty much every NASCAR fan and probably almost every industry insider looked at North Wilkesboro Speedway as sort of a pie in the sky, a pipe dream. Oh, it'd be cool if that historic short track came back someday, but it's not gonna happen. No one's really gonna do that. My, how things have changed and how things have changed quickly. Now, that $10 million is going to go towards, as it's listed, infrastructure repairs. They're going to have to work on the facilities around the track. They're going to have to work on the track itself, grandstands, et cetera, et cetera. I think that money will go a long way, but again, that money is not enough to make that track Cup Series or any sort of NASCAR series ready anytime soon, but it's a huge chunk, a huge weight off their shoulders, and that might be enough to jumpstart. This might convince others to start investing into the track as well. Now that $10 million, I mean, that's a real thing. That's real money. There looks like there's a real plan here, which actually is a good point. I think some people were surprised to see, what, $10 million going towards basically an abandoned field? What? I think if the government is giving North Wilkesboro $10 million, that's because Speedway Motorsports has presented a very, very real plan. Marcus Smith, the head of SMI, continues to reiterate on Twitter that they're working on plans for North Wilkesboro Speedway, and I think this $10 million gift from the government is confirmation that there is in fact a plan in place. So I think Marcus Smith and SMI are largely behind this. Let's also talk about Rockingham. Rockingham getting $10 million as well. Rockingham doesn't need nearly the work that North Wilkesboro does. I mean, they already got safer barriers most all the way around the track, I believe. I mean, it's an active racetrack. Late models, other series race at Rockingham still every single year, so it's not abandoned the way Wilkesboro is. Maybe there's a plan in place to bring NASCAR back to the Rock. The Cup Series has not raced at Rockingham since 2004. I know that there are a lot of NASCAR fans in North Carolina, but I do worry that if North Wilkesboro, Rockingham is like an hour north of Darlington. It's like an hour and a half east of Charlotte. There's a lot of tracks in a very small area. Throw North Wilkesboro in just another hour or two up the road. Bristol's just a few hours west. There's a lot of racetracks in a very small space there. I don't know. I worry that you're dividing up the audience too much and it's going to be difficult to pack the stands everywhere. But at the same time, if they rebuild North Wilkesboro and maybe build it to just hold 30,000 or so, I think that's doable. Rockingham's capacity is currently listed at about 35,000. I think that's realistic as well. We've already talked about recent tracks that have been renovated in NASCAR, like Phoenix. They rebuilt Phoenix to seat 40,000 fans. That's the size, that's the scale that NASCAR tracks are looking at right now. So maybe it is realistic that North Carolina has 3 different racetracks on the schedule. Maybe it's possible. North Wilkesboro is certainly the one that caught everyone's attention here. It's a track that, again, a year ago, there was no plan. At least it didn't look like it. There was no plan. It was going to continue to rot, continue to weather away and gather dust. Here we are after just a few months of conversations. Real money is being pumped into the speedway. Something big is in the works. I don't know that the Cup Series goes back there in the next year or two, but before long, we could see an ARCA race to start. Maybe then a truck or Xfinity race pop into the schedule here in the next couple of years. I think that's realistic. We'll see how these renovations go. We'll see how this money is spent. We'll see if there actually is a plan in place. I think there is. I think that's what this investment proves, that there is a plan that SMI has presented to someone with authority. Now we'll just have to wait and see if that plan turns out to be successful. But plenty of reasons to be excited if you're a race fan in the North Carolina area. There's always been reasons to be excited if you're a race fan in the North Carolina area. I mean, it's the NASCAR capital of the world. But now a couple old favorites are this much closer, not even this much closer to potentially being added back to the NASCAR schedule in the coming years. Very exciting. The future of NASCAR is short tracks and road courses. They're making that extremely clear. I'm hyped. I hope many of you guys are excited as well. But that's going to do it for this episode. That's all we've got to discuss. Let me know what you think about North Wilkesboro Speedway possibly being renovated here in the next couple of years. Shocker, it still just feels like it came out of left field. But let me know what you guys think. I appreciate the support. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR news, rumors, predictions almost every single day. And this week we're getting back out to the racetrack. So I'll be posting videos, clips from my experience at COTA this weekend. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Also a huge thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters as well. Very excited for Circuit of the Americas this weekend. If you couldn't tell, I've got a special video in the works that I think will be dropped tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that one. I will see you all this weekend. Have a fantastic rest of your Thursday.